Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got a great show for you here this Friday. The weekend is here, and what are you going to do? Probably stay at home, right, like everybody else. But the first story we got here is a Biden Me Too moment. He has a Me Too issue, and we'll explain that in just a moment. And then California, I got a couple of stories here that I meant to get to earlier in the week, but they wasn't able to get to, but they're very important nonetheless. And that is California bans the shutdown protest because a bunch of MAGA hat wearing sons of guns out there have been saying, you know, staying home just ain't for me. And they're banning the protests out in California. And then can colleges actually survive in the age of Corona? And we'll expand upon that. But we start with Creepy Joe. Just how creepy is old Uncle Joe? Well, let me tell you, this is from a Politico article. Biden's sexual assault allegation roils the Me Too movement. Hashtag Me Too. In 2017, actress Alyssa Milano, I don't even hardly remember her until the protest. I don't remember her as an actual actress. I just remember her mostly as an activist. But in 2017, actress Alyssa Milano became one of the early advocates for the Me Too movement when she tweeted, "If you've been sexually harassed or assaulted, write Me Too as a reply to this tweet." Legions of women went public with their stories in response. Now, I got to tell you, that Me Too thing confused me from the very beginning, but maybe not for the reasons you think. I mean, I was new to Twitter. By the way, I do have a Twitter account. It's at John Martin Talks, and my psychic sidekick here, Billy Bob Bass. If you're new to the show, first of all, where you been? Secondly, glad to have you. But he keeps me straight here on the show. Yeah, the old salty dog. See, make fishing great again. I am a fish whisperer. Some of us are sicker than others. And I'm hoping that I'm going to get to go fishing. And I'll share the pictures when the time happens in the not too distant future, because I've been shut down. I work on a big charter boat called Hubbard's Marina, the Florida Fisherman 2 down in the St. Pete area. But we've been shut down, and I'm hoping that our great Governor Ron DeSantis sees fit to lift the order if it's safe, and we'll get to go fishing May 1st. We'll see. Time will tell. But I've been confused about this Me Too movement because, back in the day, that hash, what everybody calls a hashtag, I never heard of the term hashtag. I didn't know what the heck it meant. To me, that's from the old dial on a telephone. It was the pound sign, dial pound something. So when they saw Pound Me Too and all these women kept putting out there this hashtag Pound Me Too, I was like, well, back in the day, I might have took you up on that. Anyway, as I say, some of us are sicker than others because it confused me, kind of like cornhole tournaments. I remember a few years back, I was invited because I used to go to a lot of college football games, and someone invited me to their post game, or pre-game, I guess, tailgate party. See how confused I am? And they said, "Hey, come on over to our tailgate party. We got a cornhole tournament going on." And I'm like, "Yeah, really?" I'm not quite sure I'm down with that because, I'm like, I don't know if I want to be the great cornholio or not. I didn't know it was throwing bags in a hole because back in my day in high school, that term meant slightly something different. As I say, if you're just tuning in and you're wanting political correctness, you are in the wrong place. But if you want good, hard truth, honest, scrub away that old unvarnished truth, get away down to that hardwood and get something that's seriously entertaining, well, you have found the right spot. 2.5 years later, Milano took to Twitter again, this time to explain her self-described silence over sexual assault allegations against presumptive Democrat. I always keep saying presumptive. He is the Democratic nominee, right? Presidential nominee Joe Biden, made by ex-Senate aide Tara Reade. So this lady named Tara Reade has made an accusation. Actually, it was a couple of years ago. It's just resurfaced The actual allegation goes back quite a bit, and we'll give you some of the details in just a moment. But the term double standard, you may hear that. You hear that a lot. You hear a lot of conservative talk show hosts say, oh, there's a double standard. There's a double standard. And I understand why they say that, but I'm here to tell you flat out, there is no double standard. There's not a double standard. People say, what do you mean? Sure, there's a double standard. No, there is not a double standard. And this story actually portrays it quite well. The reason I say there is no double standard is because there's only one standard. And that is a standard that anybody who's conservative, anybody that supports Donald Trump, let alone the man himself, they're held to a standard. You know, Brett Kavanaugh is held to a standard. But the left, they're not held to any standard. Whatever they say goes, and they make it up as they go, and they never get called out about it. But Milano said, I just don't feel, the reason why she said she has not pounded, me too, on old Joe Biden, she says, I just don't feel comfortable throwing away a decent man that I have known for 15 years in this time of complete chaos without there being a thorough investigation. And I don't have any problem with the fact that we're going to have if we have a thorough investigation. Matter of fact, I agree wholeheartedly with Miss Milano on this. Before someone's life is ruined, there should be a thorough investigation. The problem is, there should be a true double standard, or a standard that everybody is held to. And clearly, Democrats are not held to that standard. Look at what Kavanaugh was basically, they tried to destroy that man's entire career and his family based on total hearsay evidence. No one ever came forward to corroborate old Blasey Ford or whatever her name is. And they were ready, they being the Democrats, and Melissa Milano that's when I first started really even realizing who she was. She was all about condemning Kavanaugh, a man she had no idea about. And so now, but she's going to defend, I can't believe, that Joe Biden did that. Well, if you look at the history of the two men, there's no evidence that Kavanaugh ever did any of those kind of things. But creepy old Uncle Joe, there's plenty of evidence that he gets close with women. In fact, if you remember, just a couple years ago, there was a lady out in Nevada, I think, a Democratic elected official, that said Joe Biden kissed her on the neck and all kind of stuff. So this ain't the first time that Biden's name has come up, but you don't even hear about that woman anymore. She's not even mentioned in this article, I don't think. But the backlash was swift to Milano, supposedly. Progressives and feminists accused Milano of being a hypocrite and turning her back on Reid, that's the lady that's accusing Biden, because she supported Biden. Now, I actually respect that. Here's this term, what it said, the backlash with progressives and feminists. I'm going to agree with those progressives and feminists. There should be she shouldn't be two-faced like this. So I actually respect that they're calling her out on this, and we'll see how long it lasts. After making it more socially acceptable for sexual assault survivors, after making it more socially acceptable for sexually assault survivors, that's hard to say quickly, come forward and help bring down dozens of powerful men, the hashtag #MeToo movement is facing a new challenge: how to grapple with the allegations against Biden without tearing itself apart. Celebrity hashtag #MeToo activists have publicly fought over Reid's claims, so it sparked a debate. Why is there any debate? Should there be a debate? I mean, aren't all women to be automatically believed? That's what we were told. We were told that all women should just be believed automatically. Well, I think you can see the obvious foolishness in that statement. But if they're going to say that, at least be consistent. If all women are being believed, then, isn't that the standard? Billy Bob tells me that. What is it? He tells me that ain't the standard. He said, I'm not realizing the Democrat on Democrat crime. It's not a crime when a Democrat commits a crime on another Democrat. That's not a crime. And Billy Bob's got a point there. He's probably right about that. Supporters of President Donald Trump, who has been accused of sexual assault and misconduct by multiple women. Where did they go, by the way? Where are these multiple women? Even and you don't even hear much about it. But even old Stormy Daniels has come out within the last 6 months or so and said she never even had an affair with Donald Trump. I mean, that ought to be right in this article. The women that accused Donald Trump, they seem to have just gone away. But it says, sexual assault, talking about the president, and misconduct by multiple women have seized on Biden and other Democrats' past comments about believing women's accusations as proof of hypocrisy. So they seized on it. Proof of hypocrisy. How about it's just a fact? You're a hypocrite. You've always been a hypocrite. Progressives are extremely hypocritical. I mean, all you got to, there's multiple examples of it. Take the whole, what was it, yesterday was like Earth Day, or a couple of days ago, I guess now, Earth Day. And the Democrats are so hypocritical on the, do it, I say, not what I do. That's why Bernie was such a perfect communist, live poor, but not me. Well, the same thing is with this whole climate change and whatever they're global warming, whatever they're calling it. The Obamas have been preaching about global warming, yet they spent like $15 million or something crazy like that on a house on the beach. Google is putting all of their stock in one big operation out in San Francisco. And then all these liberals, they live on the coast. It's not like if they truly believed in global warming, wouldn't they be in like Omaha, Nebraska instead of San Francisco or in Nantucket or wherever the Obamas are? I mean, give me a break. And they fly around in these jets. And think about the whole 2020 field. Go back and look when it was before it was just old creepy Uncle Joe, when they had like 20 of them up there running. They all said, oh yeah, I support the Green New Deal. And I told you back then, the first question in those debates should be, how many of you support the Green New Deal? And they go, yeah, that's me. The next question would be, well, then how did you get here? And if it wasn't on the back of a jackass, then you're a hypocrite. That's why I used to call them the jackasses on jackasses. Because if you came to a debate by a plane, a train, or an automobile, you are a hypocrite and a jackass indeed. But think about this. There was not one single question to Joe Biden about this from moderators or people or fellow candidates about this, even though it was widely known. It was kind of a widely known secret. Not one single question. And old Bernie, and we're going to play a video here in just a minute to show you what I mean. Bernie was attacked by simply saying that he didn't think a woman could be president, would win this year. And he obviously is right, because ain't no woman got through the Democratic primary, let alone won. So he was right. Even he disputes even saying that, and we'll talk about that. But Bernie was attacked because they didn't want him to win no matter what. And he was attacked by women. But Biden, who has a history, not only this recent one, or actually it was a long time ago, but it just came out recently with this woman, but Biden is known as Creepy Joe. And as I mentioned, lady out in Nevada flat out accused him last year, basically. So it's just crazy, but no question for Biden. And victims fear that what they see as the botched handling of Reid's allegations by fellow activists, the media, and politicians has threatened one of the movement's hardest fought gains. What would that be? What would be one of their hardest fought gains? Well, one of them, I think, came out during the Kavanaugh hearing. Let's play old Crazy Maisie. We haven't talked about old Mazie Hirono lately, and I don't know if she's stuck in Hawaii sheltering at home or not, but I do remember when she told old boys like me what we should do. Check it out. I hears it, but I don't see it.
Of course it helps that there are women on that committee, but you know what? I expect the men in this country and the men in this committee, and many of them, believe me, because we all signed on to this letter to demand an FBI investigation, but really, guess who's perpetuating all of these kinds of actions? It's the men in this country, and I just want to say to the men in this country, just shut up and step up. Do the right thing for a change. Okay,
wow. So that tells you right there, if you're a man out there, you're just supposed to shut up and take it. I mean, it's crazy. This is what they are. But now Biden is not supposed to do anything. He stands up to be president of the United States. So all these women who have been talking about how Donald Trump mistreats women. Even if you go back to those so-called Bush tapes, Donald Trump talked about what he could do. Now, I'm not excusing what he said in those tapes at all. I don't like it. I didn't like it then. I take it for what it is. But the women never came forward. Donald Trump, only said what he could do. Everybody knows that Biden is a groper. He has been. Cory Booker admitted that he groped women. He groped women on the subway platform. And heck, they tried to make him out as Obama's second coming. So it's Democrat on Democrat crime. It don't exist. It's nothing. It doesn't make anything. But so it says left worried about taking away major TDS issue. That's what I'm saying. Those are my words. This is the reason why they're having this debate, if there is one. They are worried that Biden moving forward with this charge against him, so to speak, and the lady has filed an actual police report on this, and we'll get into a few details in just a minute. But they're worried that issue that they fought so hard that somehow Donald Trump, he hates women and everything else. And Donald Trump, from what I can see, loves women, especially strong women. I mean, he's surrounded by them, but they're worried that one of their main Trump derangement syndrome issues might be turned against them. Said Sarah Ann Massey, one of the numerous women who accused Hollywood film producer Harvey Weinstein, the one that was Gillibrand's good buddy and Hillary Clinton's good buddy, that dude, said the disgusting behavior that Christine Blasey Ford had to deal with from the right is disgusting behavior that Tara Reade is having to deal with from the left. Wow. Well, there's no credibility to what Ford did. There's some credibility. I mean, this lady has actually filed a police report. Survivors, this lady went on to say, the survivors in the world watch this, and those who have not come forward publicly, those who have not shared it with their family or gone to the police, which this woman has done both, or sought out mental health support, they see this and it silences them. Well, that's a legitimate complaint. And I'm not saying this lady is being dishonest at all. I'm sure she's deeply troubled by the lack of credibility given to this woman, Ms. Reade, with Joe Biden. I take her to word. But my question is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? And you say, well, what can you do about it? Well, she's speaking out. But how about like Liz Warren? What about Elizabeth Warren, who's like the champion of women, right? It's time for a woman to be president and all that kind of malarkey, as Biden would call it, she put out there when she just jumped in line and endorsed Biden. She destroyed Bloomberg, right? Remember that? She destroyed Bloomberg. At least his accusers got paid. But why didn't she mention anything about Joe Biden? Bloomberg didn't have much chance to win. Everybody knew that. Biden, on the other hand, proved the one that won. Why didn't she come out in the last debate and hammer Biden on this? Is Lyle Whopper going to denounce his behavior now? Don't hold your breath, because I don't think it's going to happen. Reade's allegations against Biden, which he adamantly denies. And I understand that he adamantly denies. But according to the progressives, that don't matter, right? It doesn't matter if you deny it. Didn't Kavanaugh adamantly deny the accusations against him? It made no difference to them. They literally, remember them clawing on the Supreme Court door? You remember the protest and the craziness that was happening in D.C. over Brett Kavanaugh? Do you remember the women's rights groups, the women's marching and all that kind of stuff? I mean, so does it matter? An accusation was made, right? Kavanaugh adamantly denied it, but that was totally irrelevant. In fact, the fact that he denied it, had the audacity to actually deny it, was a good reason to get rid of him. I mean, the man went through hell and still is. They still want to impeach the dude. You imagine that? The Democrats want to impeach Kavanaugh. Have even led to scrutiny of the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund, which was founded in 2018 to help victims of sexual harassment and assault. The group said it helped connect Reade, that's Biden's accuser, to attorneys, but determined it could not fund a lawyer. Check this out. It could not fund a lawyer or public relations for her because Biden is a candidate for federal office, and it believed its nonprofit status could therefore be threatened. Do you believe that? I believe it's raining down my back and they're calling it something else. That's what happens. They're calling it rain when it's something else. Yeah, I mean, the audacity of that, man, to say that, oh, they couldn't help him because it might jeopardize their non-profit status. I mean, how stupid do they think we are? I guess pretty stupid. According to Reid, these are details. Now, before I go into this, it's a little bit graphic, but I think we need to understand it. And there's a lot more details about this case. A very long article. I'm only going to cover a few things in it. If you want to get more in depth about the timelines and everything and who all was involved, because this woman reported it to aides at the time that were for Biden, and basically she was told either take it or go to the house kind of thing. But here's what she accused Biden. According to Reid, Biden penetrated me with his fingers. In 1993, after she delivered a gym bag to him in a Senate building, she was a staff assistant in Biden's office at the time. I hate to say it, but I can see him doing that. You know, he likes children crawling up on his leg and everything else, right? Roaches. I don't know what he meant by that, but no one's even asking that question, have they? What did he mean by, I grew to like roaches and kids getting up in my lap? But Reid said in an interview with Politico, when I pulled away, the anger kind of emanated from him. He pointed his finger in my face and said, "You're nothing to me. You're nothing." Well, as I say, will Joe Biden even be asked a question about this in a public forum at all? At a debate? He hasn't so far. I mean, they have totally, and even the fellow candidates would not ask for them. How many women were running at the time when they had 20 of them? And none of them would challenge that? That shows you that, to me, either you're going to stand up to women, either women are to be believed or they're not. I know a lot of, I used to work at a drug treatment center. I've dealt with this issue many, many times, and I can tell you, and I know I was dealing with a somewhat unique type of people there, but I can tell you I used to do some women's groups, some family counseling groups and that kind of thing. And almost without exception, women have said they've been sexually abused at some level, probably some direct tie to addiction in that sense. But it was amazing to me. I knew abuse went on, but until I worked at that drug treatment center, I didn't realize how prevalent it was. You women, you could chime in if you want to and let me know, but apparently it is pretty prevalent. So, but Joe's not even asked a question about this. So progressives, I want to ask you progressives out there, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about this? And you Bernie bros, how about you? I mean, Bernie was essentially taken out of the race by Lia Whopper, Elizabeth Warren. That episode he had with her damaged him beyond repair. It made him where he couldn't get a certain share of the progressive women's vote. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me set this up. Bernie, according to Elizabeth Lia Whopper Warren, that's what I call her, she said that Bernie told her in a private conversation that a woman could not win in 2020. Well, if he did or not is certainly a dispute. The fact that they couldn't apparently is pretty true. Bernie adamantly denied this. Lia Whopper said he did, and the way Bernie was treated in the CNN debate is just inexcusable. And Biden has been given a pass. So I want you Bernie bros in particular to look at this, people who supported Bernie, and tell me if you think this is fair. And if you don't think it's fair, then ask yourself, why hasn't Biden been subjected to the same scrutiny that Bernie Sanders was? And Bernie was only accused of saying a woman couldn't win, not sexual abuse like Biden. Check it out.
Sanders. CNN reported yesterday that, and Senator Warren confirmed in a statement, that in 2018, you told her that you did not believe that a woman could win the election. Why did you say that?
Well, as a matter of fact, I didn't say it. And I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on this because this is what Donald Trump and maybe some of the media want. Anybody knows me, knows that it's incomprehensible that I would think that a woman could not be president of the United States. Go to YouTube today. There's a video of me 30 years ago talking about how a woman could become president of the United States. In 2015, I deferred, in fact, to Senator Warren. There was a movement to draft Senator Warren to run for president. And you know what? I stayed back. Senator Warren decided not to run, and I did run afterwards. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 million votes. How could anybody in a million years not believe that a woman could become president of the United States? And let me be very clear. If any of the women on this stage or any of the men on this stage win the nomination, I hope that's not the case. I hope it's me. But if they do, I will do everything in my power to make sure that they are elected in order to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of our country.
So Senator Sanders, I do want to be clear here. You're saying that you never told Senator Warren that a woman could not win the election.
That is correct.
Senator Warren, what did you think when Senator Sanders told you a woman could not win the election?
I disagreed.
That's good enough.
Bernie is.
I mean, you talk about a double standard. Apparently, there is a double standard within the Democratic Party itself. If it comes down to beating Donald Trump, right? Because the whole thing, Trump derangement syndrome, is what this campaign is all about. As I said on yesterday's show, and if you want to check out our podcast, the best way to do that is go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook page, like it, please share it with others. You can now go to our YouTube channel. The more you're going there every day, I greatly appreciate it. Please go there and subscribe to it. It's John Martin Talks. You got to spell it all the way out and watch it on there and share it with others. I'd greatly appreciate it. Of course, America's Voice News, we're rebroadcast on there every day, and we're on Pluto Network. We're on Dish Network, channel 219, all the streaming devices, Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, free apps on your Android and iPhone. There are many ways to watch John Martin Talks, and we're very appreciative. But apparently there is a double standard for Democrats because, as I said yesterday, or I think it was 2 days ago, I get confused. Go back and look at the show. They're all labeled too. That this election is really about Donald Trump. Biden happens to be the presumptive nominee. At the end of the day, this is going to be about how people feel about Donald Trump. Because if it was about the Democratic nominee, Joe Biden would never have won it because he's a lousy candidate. He's always been a lousy candidate. But apparently, they were willing to hold Bernie Sanders to a standard. Think about this, you Bernie bros. They, being CNN in cahoots with LIAWOP, Elizabeth Warren, held your guy to a standard when he was only accused of verbally talking about a woman couldn't win for president. Even if he's 100% guilty, that's pretty minor compared to what Biden is credibly accused of, and yet he gets a pass. That tells you right there that your guy, Bernie, never had a chance, and neither should Biden. And then my question to you, and you feminists out there and all that, what are you going to do? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to vote against Joe Biden. But what are you going to do? Apparently I care more about women than you do. All right, we're going to move along. This is coming to you from the Sacramento Bee, and it is an amazing story to me. And you talk about double standard or one standard. Here's another story that shows just how there is only one standard, and conservatives are held to it, and progressives can do whatever they want. California Highway Patrol bans protest at California Capitol after rally against Newsom. That's Governor Newsom's stay-at-home order. Following Monday's protests at the state capitol where demonstrators defied Governor Gavin Newsom orders, and of course that's happening all over the country, orders banning large gatherings, the California Highway Patrol says it will no longer issue permits for events at any state properties, including the Capitol. Now, I wonder, if this had been a pro-abortion demonstration, what would they have done? Would you think they would really come out and say, hey, we're banning you guys from coming to state property? You know, if you believe that, there's a bridge in New York I'd like to sell you Californians. The CHP said in a statement, and I love this, they said it in a statement. Listen to this statement. Permits are issued to provide safe environments for demonstrators to express their views. In this case, the permit for the convoy, because they were talking about just doing like they did in Michigan, convoying around, blowing horns, that kind of stuff, was issued with the understanding that the protest would be conducted in a manner consistent with the state's public health guidance. That is not what occurred and the California Highway Patrol will take this experience into account when considering permits for this or any other group. So, let me understand this. The protest can only be with the blessings of the state. Imagine that. In America now, we have set the precedent, they're setting it out in California, that a protest, now I'm hoping you talk about hold a standard. Let's hold this to standards across the board, California. But protests can only be permitted when they have the blessings of the state. You know, I thought King George was dead and gone. I thought we fought a war and got rid of that dude. Apparently, old King George is making quite the comeback. Can you imagine if our revolution would have never happened if we'd have just dutifully said, okay, well, unless we get the blessings of King George, we can't have a protest. What is the point of a protest if it has to be blessed? I mean, it's crazy. Monday, keep in mind, our country was founded on a protest. I mean, it just was. I'm not saying they're all equal, but never forget that. When you're freedom of speech is only freedom of speech if you're allowing, it's not agreeable speech. If we only have agreeable speech, that's not freedom of speech. That's what they do in China. Monday's protests, which mirrored others that have sprung up nationwide and have been dubbed Operation Gridlock, featured hundreds of people driving vehicles around Capitol Complex in downtown Sacramento, honking horns, and hundreds of others standing shoulder to shoulder, oh my God, cheering them on as they express opposition to the governor's stay-at-home order. So I'm wondering, what if they were wearing like MAGA hats and stuff like that? What if they were wearing Biden hats? Is there a Biden hat? I've never seen a Biden hat. I've seen a Bernie hat. I saw this hat. Look at that. There's a Bernie hat. So there's where Bernie is. Where's the Biden hats? There's no passion for Joe Biden. Anyone, have you met, I keep saying this, and please, if you're one of them, chime in on whatever Facebook page you're watching on right now. I'll respond to you as quickly as I possibly can. Is there anyone out there that's actually passionate about Joe Biden? I'm not saying you're not going to vote for him, but everything I hear is nothing to do with Joe Biden. It's just anti-Trump. I mean, I get in debates with people on Facebook, and they can never debate the issue. They always come back with anti-Trump. The California Highway Patrol's Capitol Protection Section, which issued the permit, listen to this carefully, would not discuss Monday why the permit was issued, instead of referring inquiries to the Senate, which have nothing to do with issuing the permit. So think about that for a minute. So a bureaucracy, in this case the Highway Patrol, you know I support law enforcement, but the Highway Patrol is a bureaucracy, right? They determined whether or not you could have a permit. No one who was voted into office is determining this. I mean, to me, isn't that the very definition of a police state, when only the police can determine whether you have a protest or not? I mean, give me a break, man. You talk about the deep state. That is the deep state right there. Let me check the time. I'm doing okay. Additional protests have been set for coming days, with locations still to be announced, but the CHP says no such protests will be allowed on state property for the time being. Let me take a little sip here, because I want to say this calmly and about as rationally as I can. And if you're out there, California Highway Patrol, it doesn't really matter. Let me let you in on a little secret here. Lean in and listen. It's one of these times in the show, if you don't get anything else, get this. There's no such thing as state-owned property. We own the property. We, the American people, the taxpayers of California, the taxpayers of whatever state you're in. There is no government property in a sense that it's owned exclusively by government and we don't own it. We, the people. It don't say we, the bureaucrats. It doesn't even say we, the President of the United States. Donald Trump owns all kind of property. He don't own the White House. Gavin Newsom does not own the Capitol in Sacramento, and neither does the California Highway Patrol. I'm telling you right now, and I'm not advocating for any kind of violence whatsoever, but if you keep going down this road, if you force us, if we don't man the political ramparts, I've been saying this for several years now, we're going to have to man the real ones again. We better rise up and stand up and be counted, and we got to let these politicians know, from the White House to the outhouse and everything in between, We own this country. They don't. They serve at our pleasure. And they seem to have forgotten that. And if you don't think they have, just look around at what's happening. COVID virus aside, and I'm not downplaying the deaths from it. I'm not saying that we don't need to practice social distance and all that. I'm believing in the science to a certain extent, to a certain level. But by God, I am sick and tired of politicians and bureaucracies especially telling me that they own something. They don't own squat. We own it. And it's about time we let them know that. And as long as I got breath in my lungs and a microphone, if I got to stand down on a street corner and holler it out, I am. They don't own it. We, the people, own it. And that goes for California, too. I haven't given up hope on you out there in California. I know we got a lot of great people out there listening to the show, and I greatly appreciate. I pity you sometimes. Here's the thing about California. I've said this before, but if I say it, it bears repeating. California used to be the greatest state in the nation, one of the greatest places on earth. And it was founded by some of the hardiest people, the 49ers and all that. Unbelievable. And what have they done with it? They have taken your great state of California and gone from the jewel to the dadgum stool. I mean, did you ever think, if you're a Californian, man, when I grew up as a kid, we all dreamed like the Beach Boys, California dreaming, man. Did you ever think you'd have to have a poop map to get around the cities in California? It's sad, man, from the jewel to the stool. But the CHP said, in the interest, listen, I want you to hear this statement from a bureaucracy. In the interest of public safety and the health of all Californians during the COVID-19 pandemic, effective immediately, the California Highway Patrol will deny any permit requests for events or activities at all state facilities, to include the state capitol, and until public health officials have determined it's safe to gather again. And the congregation said, Sieg Heil! I mean, I don't use Nazi references much, but that statement could have been written in 1935. I mean, it's just, it irritates me. It's we the people. They have forgotten that, and we need to remind them. All right, we got one last story here. We ain't only got a few minutes left, but to me, it's a very important one, and it's near and dear to my heart. As you know, I live here. Well, I live outside from the big city of Hawthorne, Florida, in Alachua County, which is the blue. If you want to look at like one of those blue-red county maps of Florida, I'm in that deep blue lake up in the north central part of Florida. I've been living in a blue wave my whole life. Being a Republican and a conservative where I live is a true political statement. Trust me on that. But I love my University of Florida. It's the center of everything in this county and really this region. I'm a Gator. I make no apologies. I got one friend of mine out there. I tell him, looking for your 2 books at Georgia University. That's another joke. Anyway, I worry about the University of Florida. I worry about universities in general. I think they've gone astray, quite frankly. But this coronavirus could actually be a certain death. It's going to change what's happening here. Can colleges survive coronavirus? The math is not pretty. And this is an NPR article. Most campuses in the United States are sitting empty. Courses online, students are at home, and administrators are trying to figure out how to make the finances of that work. Now, some of these colleges, I was listening to Tucker Carlson last night. He had a great show as usual. He's talking about some of these places like Harvard, even public universities like Michigan, Ohio. University of Florida falls into it to a little bit lesser extent, but some of these colleges have multi-billion-dollar endowments, and they're still taking millions of our money, which is a whole story. But back to this, like, if online, for instance, if online actually works, and I'm not saying it's going to work in a mega way, but if it does, what then? Do you go back to paying money to go in class? I mean, it's a real question. Robert Kelchen, who studies the higher ed finance in Seton Hall University in New Jersey, said the math is not pretty. Colleges are stressed both on the revenue side and on the expenditure side. So it brings a question that, does college really make sense anymore? Does it make as much sense? Now, obviously, if you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, maybe an Indian chief, but you know, there's definitely reasons to go to college academically. I loved college just for the experience, and I did graduate. I graduated. Yeah. But does college still make sense? Did it ever make sense for everybody? You know, we've pushed this thing out now that college is the beginning and end all for people. And what we can see now that, maybe having a college degree is not what's saving our behinds. It's a combination of college degrees like doctors and nurses, but it's truck drivers and people like that, first responders, that are saving our lives. So, you might have to take a look at that. Dominique Baker, a professor of education policy at Southern Methodist University, SMU, said, "This will touch every sector of higher education, every size of institution, every region of the country." And so even if it's free, people might not go. I mean, if they want to, public distance, there's no way you can have a major university like here in Gainesville and practice total social distancing. I mean, that's not possible. There's 60,000 students. There's no way they could do that. Let me check my time. Got a few more minutes. And I want to make sure, I'm on time here. And it already has. The University of Michigan estimates it might lose up to $1 billion by the end of the year. For University of Kentucky, it's $70 million. That's no small potatoes. Hundreds of schools, including some with endowments more than $1 billion, like Duke University, Virginia Tech, and Brown, have announced hiring freezes. Well, I can tell you, if the University of Florida were to be gone, I mean, it'd be disastrous. But certainly, even if they cut way back, Gainesville, where I live, is more of a company town than it ever has been. I tell local people that all the time. The University of Florida is, in essence, the economy of this whole region of Florida. Really, it is. I mean, people commute all around. You see, that's one thing I've noticed coming from my little town of Hawthorne. The commute has actually died down. But without the University of Florida, you're going to see, basically, we would be impoverished. Our area will definitely hit the skids if the University of Florida doesn't come back in a big way. The federal government did attempt a buoy, it says here, in the CARES relief package passed in March. Congress allocated about $14 billion for college and universities, though many have said it's not enough. Well, it's always not enough. The Democrats, the progressives, which dominate our college campuses, when have you ever heard a progressive say this? Oh, we got all the money we need. It never, ever happens. And colleges, you wonder how, and on Tucker Carlson's show last night, I give him credit, they pointed this out. The reason why these universities are getting all this money is they're better lobbyists than you are. I mean, that's just the way it is. But here's the thing. There's never enough money, and there's got to be competition. Let me just say this. One of the things I hope comes out of this, because I'm not wishing ill on our university system. One is we need to understand the value of a college education reality. We need to get Americans back to work. There were, before this coronavirus hit, there were millions of jobs that were available to Americans that didn't quite have the skill for, like welders, brick masons, all that kind of stuff, electricians. So there are people who I know, some of the richest people I know in my life are people that basically started with a pickup truck, a dream, and a shovel. I'm just telling you the truth. So there's a lot of opportunities. Maybe, just maybe, we need to refocus our universities and not teach gender studies. Maybe we should stick to the basics about things that are actually practical use out there in the real world. The value of education. Maybe we need to question that. Maybe we need a more efficient society in general. These are things I hope come out of it. And I had an old college professor of mine who used to say that we need to focus all of our attention and money really on elementary school and let the universities will take care of themselves. Because he said if you don't catch them when they're young, you're going to lose them before they get there. And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, and I want you to take this into your weekend because a lot of places are starting to open up. There's a big debate going on, especially in the next couple of weeks or so. But we have to assess our own personal risk. Our country can only survive if we take personal responsibility, if we man the political ramparts. Because as I say, if we don't, we're surely going to have to man the real ones again. I hope you have yourself a great weekend. Please go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook page, like it, share it with others. As I say, check us out on YouTube. Spell it all the way out, John Martin Talks on YouTube. I really appreciate it. Have yourself a great, blessed weekend. Keep watching, keep looking on our Facebook pages. We will be posting stuff there throughout the weekend. But above all else, as I've been saying, I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. And as I say, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day.